Good morning at the cool part of the day to the Community Services meeting, and it's Tuesday, June 21st at 9 a.m. We will start with roll call, please.
Ms. Weber?
Present.
Ms. Parker? Present. Ms. Polk?
Present.
Mr. Snipes?
Present.
Ms. Peters? Mr. Tholen? Mr. Carrico?
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Present.
Ms. Bryan? Ms. Hudson?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand? Mr. Raymond?
Present.
Mr. Wheeler?
Present.
Mr. Seroy? We have a quorum.
Thank you. I don't have any public comment pages or pieces of paper, so we'll have no public comment. And matter of fact, we will let the May 17th minutes wait till our next meeting also, so we'll approve both of them at the same time. Coming up is Mr. Hendrickson. He is the man of the day or the month or the week or the 7 days or 7 days till today is. Oh, if you want to be the man of the millennium, that's right. So you have his report. People are still getting married regardless of what else he's doing in his office. So how about Ms. Hudson, would you like to approve that report?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Raymond, will you second it? Okay, all in favor of accepting his report, say aye. Any opposed, say aye. Motion carried. What do you want to highlight anything on your report?
No.
Okay, so 3 is you. Okay, go ahead. What else?
Good morning, everybody.
Hi.
Just wanted to talk about a couple things real quick. Previous elections, we had a touchscreen judge, and we paid a $25 supplemental fee for that touchscreen judge. With our new equipment, we won't be having that $25 supplemental touchscreen judge anymore, but we will. I would like to look into increasing the mileage for those judges that come and pick up the supplies and return those supplies at the end of the night. So I would like to increase that pickup fee an additional $10, and the drop-off fee $10 divided by the 2 judges. So that would, in essence, be a wash from what we were doing before. I just wanted to let you know and get a head nod to see if that was okay with all of you. If anybody has any objections, speak now.
All of you that are judges, at least, shake your hand. Yes. Mr. Snipes.
I have no objection, but did you do a parallel costing comparison to see? I know you're saying the other one costs less, but what did it cost us before, and what is that savings now?
Well, the only difference in fees would be the $25 fee that we paid our judges to pick up the touchscreen equipment, and we'd be paying $20 for them to pick up and return the supplies. So save $5.
All right.
2020 or 1010 makes 20 minus 25 is
$5.
and that's your authority to do that.
Yeah.
We don't have to approve it. We just say you're a nice guy.
It's within my budget. It's not costing one single dollar more out of the general fund.
Even less.
So
anything else? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about is notary publics. Senate Bill 2664 was passed last year. That, in essence, takes notary publics out of the county clerk's hands. It will all be done at the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State's office was looking to do a memorandum of understanding with all of the counties, which would possibly last maybe a year. But we would then be required to print off the certificates, and previously the Secretary of State's office mailed them to us for distribution. For 1 year, I'm not interested in pursuing a memorandum of understanding. So effective June 30th, we won't be processing notaries anymore. So.
Some of you are notaries. I can see you're grimacing. What can they do? What will they do?
Well, legislation was signed by the governor last year, so there's not everything as far as notaries goes will have to go through the Secretary of State's office.
And where would that be?
Online.
Oh, online. So
I know they're moving to do everything online now.
Okay. So, Colton, are you a notary? Mr. Snipes?
You said that was 2664?
Yeah, 2664.
Okay, and that limits the notaries in your office as to everything, birth certificates, everything? I'm trying to see how that relates to the general public.
We issue notary certificates. So if somebody wants to apply to become a notary,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah. So it
Okay.
doesn't affect any of the vital records at all. It just affects our ability to, or now lack of ability to issue those certificates. Those will all be issued out of Springfield. So that will be a hit on our budget. Last year for calendar year 2021, we took in about a little bit less than $3,000 for fees for notaries. So we won't be getting that money.
Now you can see why.
Right. Yeah, the memorandum of understanding said, you'd have to go online to download the certificate, you'd have to print the certificate off, which we didn't have to do before, so now we're talking about, in additional paper. The Secretary of State's office, as the draft of the memorandum is written, would issue payments quarterly. Now, I know if you speak to the sheriff, the things that they've talked about and the things that they pay you aren't exactly the same. So, to get,
Alrighty.
so, one other thing, and I had spoken to the chairman about that this morning. My apologies, the resolution for the selection of election judges that we present to the county board every year, we should have had it at this meeting, but we ran out of time, frankly. It will be going to the executive committee. Basically, it is, here's the list of judges, the county board approves it, it goes to the courts sign off on it, and those are the judges that we will use for the November election. Any new judges that we get in between now and end of October, there will be a supplemental list that we'll take to the judges to get their approval. So that will be on the executive committee for next week. I will possibly be busy next Tuesday. So if I can come up and talk about it, or if anyone has any questions about that, I'll be happy to be there, but there is a possibility that I will be at a polling place or something on that, at that time.
Or somebody's fine.
Yep.
Any questions on that? So you must,
I won a prize. Oh,
outside, you have to
I didn't win a prize. Okay.
You probably have notified all your election judges by this time?
Absolutely.
And you have at least 3 in each place?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that Colton and I received in the mail, on the email this week, was our assignments as election field coordinators.
Yes.
And so that's kind of a nifty thing, so that he and I have 7 different polling places that we'll go to numerous times, or several times during the day, starting at 5 a.m., or else on Monday even, is the preferred.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. They will be setting up the day before the election, and then obviously during the course of the day on election day, they'll be our first line of defense as far as troubleshooting things goes. Just in the interest of full disclosure, both Carol and Colton are on the ballot. However, the areas of their assignment don't take them any place where their names would be on the ballot. So
he's going, instead of his area, the east, he's going this way. Instead of my west, I'm coming into town. So that's good assignment, I would say.
that's all my election judge coordinator, my chief deputy, that's Lori.
Lori doing that.
Thatcher, she does all that hard work.
We'll pick up materials on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and you'll be open. I guess you want to mention that.
We will be open until my next day off will be July 2nd. So
That's a Saturday, right?
yes. No, we will be open. We will be open until 7 o'clock every night this week. On Saturday, we'll be open from 8:30 to 4:30. On Sunday, we'll be open from 9 to 4. On Monday, the day before the election, we will be open until 7 o'clock for early voting, and until we get everybody set up and ready to go at the polling place. And then back here.
Turn off Mr. Snipes. Okay.
Back here at about 4:30 on election day. So
It's only the primary.
correct.
Yeah. So in November it'll be even more exciting.
Yes.
Anything else, Mr. Wheeler? Let's see if are you.
And I want to tee up something that we were just talking about before the meeting started. When the committee was doing maps, we noticed that there was a little piece of Aroma Township and Janier kind of coming together, but basically about 25 houses, I believe you said.
I
that
think it's about 25 registered voters, maybe, you know, as many as 40 people there.
Roughly in the Sun River.
They are in Sun River Terrace. It's just that the westernmost tip of that area of Sun River Terrace is in Aroma Township.
And so where do they go vote?
They would go vote at the Eastridge Church of the Nazarene on 17.
Okay, so we'll talk about it.
The rest of the citizens of Sun River Terrace and in that precinct would vote at the Ralph Bailey Community Center, which is
block, 2
yards away
yeah.
from where they live.
It was just a problem we noticed, and it just occurred when we were talking that every 10 years, I looked at, you know, Eric's presentation, and he has to kind of redo his township map. We have the opportunity to adjust the lines of the township, I believe. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So we can maybe do that at executive if we get a little bit of time to do some research. So we'll talk about that in a minute.
That would be that would be helpful to me. It would be helpful to those people who have to make that trek to go vote at Eastridge. So
that's the only thing that it would change for them in terms of the election process, access to candidates. Well, townships, the supervisors.
town, yeah, it would be. I mean, the difference between those would be whatever the rate for Janier Township compared to Aroma Township, as far as taxing goes. That would be the only difference. Would be the township
Okay, well, that leads.
code.
Well,
So
anything else? Mr.
Write that
Gibson?
down.
So far, so good.
I'm running. Thank y'all so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
If you haven't voted yet, we're open
It's so easy, so slick.
and fun.
And you get a sticker.
Stickers. I can't beat that.
I can't even.
Have a good day.
Mr. Blair has a report.
Could you have somebody
Ms. Parker, would you like to move that we accept the assessor's report? Okay, Mr. Eckhoff, second that? Okay. Any discussion about his report? He has a lot of interesting things, and you want to turn to your map if you haven't turned to it. No, 13, gotcha. So while he's coming, you're going to first give your report, and then you talk about the next thing, okay? The report, all in favor of approving that report, say aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried. Okay, go ahead. Momentarily, you are.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
So I'll start with my typical report, and then we'll get into the map, and I'll explain a little bit about what my responsibilities are, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So just wanted to let the committee know that I did receive the certification of 2021 sales ratio study from the Department of Revenue this past month. So that's all been distributed to the township assessors, and they're all aware of their rates of change and things like that get certified this time of year. I also scheduled the Farmland Assessment Review Committee meeting for a week from yesterday, the 27th of June. It'll be on the second floor in the conference room there. So I'm going to be getting an agenda out very quickly and setting up for that meeting. It's an annual meeting that I need to have just to make sure that we're going to go forward with the state certified PI values that are presented to me usually by about May 1st. So those are a couple of things that we've gotten done, in addition to obviously dealing with tax bills and things this time of year. A couple things coming up. Obviously, I need to hold that Farmland Assessment Review Committee meeting, and I'm still waiting to receive the assessment changes from township assessors, which that's nothing out of the ordinary this time of year. As I see assessors come into my office, I ask them when they're going to be ready to turn their books into me so that we can move forward with processing of those changes and get them in the newspaper like we do in September typically every year. So that's just letting you know that this is the time of year where I'll start asking for those kinds of documents from the townships. So are there any questions on that part of my report before I move into the map? Okay, hearing none, I guess I'll move on to the map. And you know, from my perspective, the Department of Revenue dropped this on me in May. So I think last time in 2012 they did this in March, which would have been nice to have a little bit more time to you know, move through these things and consider some other options. But honestly, what this gets into is if a township has less than 1,000 inhabitants, they must be forced into a multi-township with which would total more than 1,000 inhabitants. Now, all of the multi-township assessment districts, which you can see on the map that are already colored in and boxed in, the GIS department did a great job for me, helping me get all this information on here. But you can see that Yellowhead, Sumner, Manteno, Rockville, Salina, Essex, and Pilot Norton are already, those are the ones that would have less than 1,000 somewhere in there. At least one of those townships would have had less than 1,000, but it's already part of a multi-township assessment district, which puts it over 1,000. So I'm proposing no changes to the multi-township assessment districts in our county, and the map would ostensibly stay the same as it has been for the last 10 years. Mr. Wheeler, if you'd like to talk, I don't know if you want to.
It's just a lot to try to put together really quickly. You can't do it in this meeting. It would take some research by state's attorney, but the thought would be to clean up that little area by Sun River Terrace, if all things are equal, township taxation rates and things like that. You know, if there's a brief series of phone calls that we made to the residents out there to see if they've got an issue with it. You know, there's every 10 years is the only opportunity to do this. So, or I can just leave a time capsule for whoever's chairman in 10 years and say, hey, fix this when you do the next map. But, you know, that's a lot of gas between now and then for those people to drive all the way down to vote. So I guess it's really the committee's pleasure here. We could just pass it like it is now, and or we could take it to executive and give me a week to figure it out. And if there's no other solution, you know, do we have to put a notice in the newspaper? Do we have to have a public hearing? I don't know all of these things at this point. So if the committee thinks we want to take a week and research it and see if we want to fix it, can make a final decision at executive, if that's okay with Eric and everybody else. Otherwise, we can move right now. So
It's absolutely fine with me, because the only thing that I need to do is present a map showing that I've complied with the 1,000 inhabitants. You know,
it doesn't need to be the final one.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, then maybe we could pass this, and then it could be the
Adjust.
other thing is separate.
Yeah, I almost think they may not. They could be handled separately potentially.
And if not, then we'll amend this at executive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
Absolutely.
go. Okay.
But if you do something in executive, it would amend this.
We'd have to do both, maybe. But again, I would talk to SAO.
If I point to here, is this where you're talking about?
Yeah, it's that little corner of Aroma and Janier over there.
Okay.
It's basically right up along the river, I believe, where those neighborhoods that are right along the river before you cross over the bridge.
Yeah. So any kind of adjustment there still would have 1,000 people in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Eric, on the Essex Salina, they both show more than 1,000. So how did they get joined together? Or are you saying now that no?
Well, I think that was done many years ago,
Oh.
and you can certainly voluntarily, you know, merge townships. Townships can decide to do that on their own, even if they have more than 1,000. But if they have less than 1,000, like last time, it was Norton that fell below 1,000 and was forced in with Pilot back in 2012. But you know, where two townships agree to merge, you could have more than 1,000 in each one, and they could decide. But I don't have the authority to force them to, unless unless there's less than 1,000 inhabitants.
Does each township still have its own supervisor? They're just merged together, or is
That's correct. It doesn't do anything to the township itself. It has to do with the formation of a multi-township assessment district, which is a separate taxing body.
Gotcha.
And I believe their boards are comprised of parts of each of the different township boards. So it doesn't affect the supervisors or anybody like that. I mean, they may sit on multiple boards then. They may sit on the Rockville board and the Mantino-Rockville multi-township assessment board, but it doesn't change the configuration for anything other than assessment purposes.
So in this case, Pilot and Norton do have the same township supervisor, right? Is that right?
Well, I think Norton has one and Pilot has one.
Do you?
Multi-township assessment district is different
Gotcha.
because again, it's just for assessment purposes that boundary exists.
So what you're asking, after we've read the memo and then we're looking at the map, for what we need to do today is you're asking to approve this map. Or we don't even need to do that.
You can approve it. You could send it to executive, because really my responsibility is to make sure that the county board is presented with this map. And I thought this was the first place to come. Obviously, out of respect to this committee and the whole board, I want to make sure that I do this as properly as possible. The statute isn't really clear on the steps to present it to the county board, but I think with the way that we've got things set up with committees in our county, I think it makes sense to bring it here first, maybe send it to executive, and then go to the full board on July 12th.
Okay. So what, Mr. Featherling, do you think we need a motion today?
Yes.
Okay, what would that be?
Yeah, John, what is it?
Are you number 10 or 9?
Nine.
Okay.
9. Aye.
No, you're the motion man
Yeah, I make a motion to accept.
to approve this
Yeah.
as Eric has presented it, and have it changed if needed later. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Carrico, how do you like that? You'll second that? Any other discussion on that? Mr. Snipes?
I'm a fan of, because I had 3 questions. I'm looking at 3 townships that are below the 1,000 mark. So I think you addressed it, but how is it that these will remain unaffected, like Rockville and like Summer and like Norton, that falls below the 1,000 threshold?
Right, those individual townships have less than 1,000, but when you put them together with their multi-township assessment district and add it all together, it's more than 1,000. So Rockville, for example, is already combined with Mantino. That's been that way for I would say close to 30 years. So if you add those populations together, it's going to be more than 1,000. You said Norton is less than 1,000. That's already with Pilot, so if you add those 2 together, you're fine there. And Sumner is with Yellowhead. And when you add those together, you're going to get more than 1,000. So that's the purpose of a multi-township assessment district, is to make sure that nobody's left with less than 1,000, and that's all that's being assessed by an assessor. It's just too small of a group to expect to fill that spot.
Okay, and then the other 2 questions. Kankakee City is in more than one township, because it shows them at only 24,508, and I know the city fell below that, but the township includes the city, so it's larger. That number to me is somewhat smaller, if that's including all of Kankakee Township and the city of Kankakee, versus or some parts of Kankakee in like Babonis Township or something. I don't know. It's just I'm looking at that number, and it just doesn't consider the whole township, because
Go ahead, please, Mr. Wheeler.
Kankakee City is in Kankakee Township.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's the number, so it swallows up all the population of the city and then the little few in the rural area around it, like out by Grace Baptist.
So that's the aggregate number then for the whole township?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, and then also, I guess we've already approved it, whatever, so I just want to make sure it's approved with the necessary research, so we're not coming back here in those gray areas that we were referring to. So I think Ms. Weber said "and" with an addendum "and" on that motion, so I'll go with that.
That's all. Good, you're good now? Okay. So all in favor of approving Mr. Featherling's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Point of order,
Point of order.
it's Mr. Smith. Sorry, we have to have that
see,
right for the
I
record.
moved Featherling.
That's okay.
Smith.
I just
no
wanted the
wonder he
record
was
to be correct.
pausing and
Yeah.
so you're speaking.
Just for the record, not to
Mr. Smith.
say anything else.
I apologize so much. I apologize. You still make the motion anyway, even what I did to you? Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Oh my goodness, I'm embarrassed. Okay, all in favor of Mr. Smith's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carried. Thank you. I won't do that again, Mr. Wheeler. Oh, Mr. Smith. Okay, I think Mrs. Gaboyd's coming up, so let's look at her report. It's on the next page of your, so, Mr. Smith, why don't you make this motion? You don't want to do it? Okay, Mr. Carrico, will you move that we accept Ms. Gaboyd's report? Okay, Mr. Kirkster, will you second it? Okay. All in favor of accepting Mrs. Gaboyd's report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carried. Thank you. So, nice big number after you get set down here again, but nice $159,000.
Yeah, pretty good month.
It is.
Any questions on the report?
What's that? I have seven microphones on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so just the idea that it's the best, in like 7 months or something,
Yep.
isn't it?
Yep, so far.
At one point, you said there's something big coming. Has that,
No.
It hasn't come yet? Even though there's something bigger coming for another month?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hasn't hit yet, so we're waiting.
And then just a promise you made that we'll visit next month.
As of right now, I think we might have to postpone that. We, just like everything else, the paper world is having some setbacks. So the last 22 books have been scanned, but they're not printed yet because we got a paper shortage.
Oh, of course there is.
Of course. So, so we're just being patient. So I think as of right now, we're probably gonna put it off until August.
Because you want us to see the best.
Yes, I want you to see everything put together. So, but you're always welcome to stop into the office anytime you have questions or just wanna see what's going on.
Check on something.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, but en masse, we'll try and come in.
Yes, that's the plan. That is the plan.
What else would you like to say to us?
Nothing. Things are very smooth, going well, busy. We're still very busy every day with title searchers, so that means that things are happening, which is a good thing. We like that.
It is good, and even in my little community, 3 new houses are being built. This is astounding.
Yeah.
In the cost of paint, for one thing.
The cost of everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and the housing market, Colton, how would you react to that housing market?
Slowing down.
Oh, it is slowing down, but still active people moving around. So.
Oh yeah. Houses are not staying on the market very long, but we are seeing quite a bit of deed transactions still. So
Deed transactions. And then let's go back to one thing we approved of not charging people if they wanted to fix their.
right. So the restricted covenants. Really, we've had inquiries coming in and looking into it, but as of right now, nothing has been sent up the flagpole to the state's attorney's office yet. So,
But it's there when.
but we're ready.
that was
absolutely.
an excellent motion, an excellent
Yes,
idea.
it was. It was very good.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Snipes?
Am I correct in interpreting that in the state of Illinois, Kankakee was in the lead on that.
That's very true. Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Because it was your idea.
No,
No?
really, believe it or not, it was not. It did come out of Chicago. But once we caught wind of the legislature really taking an interest in it, I'm part of the legislative committee for the association. So definitely Kankakee jumped on it with an interest because we're very familiar with some of the language that's in our historical records.
Yes, sure.
So we come across it all the time, and we're amazed when, you know,
It makes you grimace.
yeah, you know, history is strange sometimes.
And written. That's the worst part about it. It's
Right, exactly, and yes, it's true. So other than that, really, there's nothing else going on. We're just busy every day doing our job, doing our thing, and
Well, you're one of those supervisor persons too. That you're
I
going to be
am.
visiting
I'm very
Cole.
excited. I told Dan I would do anything to help him with the election process if I could. And yes, he took advantage of that since I am not on the ballot. And so I will be out in the field, and I'm looking forward to
Are
it.
you like as Colton and I in a different place than?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm out. Yeah, I'm in Colton's area.
Out in that way.
Yeah. So
Which is good.
will there? Okay, I'm looking forward to that. Thanks. Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. I think it'll be a great experience, and I'm familiar with some of the polling places, so been to them a few times.
Thank you for that and serving too.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
okay. Anything else?
Anything to help the process.
Thank you very much.
Great,
For coming
thank you.
today.
Everyone have a great day. Stay cool.
Okay, Ms. Polk, would you like to approve the animal control?
Yes.
Okay, she moves to accept it. Mr. Snipes, will you second that? Yes. Okay. Any those questions about it? She'll be here in a minute, but all in favor of accepting the animal control report, please say aye. Any opposed, say no.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, so in front of you, you have your report. Anything you want to highlight, Carrie?
Our euthanasia, it keeps going up. We know that shelters are full right now. A lot of our euthanasia has been wildlife still. We have had a lot of owner surrender and owner surrender euthanasia. It's happening everywhere. It's not just us. It's one of those things that we don't look forward to, but it's unfortunate. It's one of those things that has to unfortunately happen for certain animals.
What are those 13 wildlife? Are they
Raccoons.
They are raccoons.
Raccoons or opossums. Usually it's raccoons. I'd say, I think most of all but one, I think were raccoons.
Do you go ahead and test for rabies then?
We don't. No, they typically we don't set out for unless there's been exposure, unless there's been a bite to a human or a bite to an animal. Then like people opt to have the specimen sent out to the lab. But if there's no contact, no exposure, then we don't send out. So
Just dispose of. Then
Yes.
just dispose of.
yes,
One of the things that Colton moved at the last meeting was an ordinance to collect the fees that are owed you. What happened next after that?
so that's I've talked with John and Terry to see how we need to go move forward on that. That's one of those things that will take some time, and I don't feel like they have time right now. They're very busy right now. So maybe in the winter months we can get working on that when it's not as busy for all of us involved. But that's something that I definitely want to look into. Our registration did go up from last year at this time, but that is registration. Like I have one's office specifically that has not paid nor given certificates from April or May yet. So
Well,
I have to make a personal visit in there. I've called and nothing has happened since
It
then.
was $10,000s of dollars, wasn't it?
Roughly, yeah.
So on your report, there's $29,530 in registration fees. Doesn't include that.
The money owed for at least 2 vets offices that I can think of.
Two vets.
And this is for May, but there is another vet's office that owes for April. At least 2 vets offices owe for April as well. So that's not including that. So they get pushed forward. So it'll look like we made more in June, which is actually it should have been for the April or May's report, I guess you could say. It's one of those things that we were dealing with. One of our clerical staff does that most of the time, and it's very frustrating because they kind of push us off to the side sometimes, and we'll get there. We'll get it down and get it figured out.
They
But-
provide the service and the money. They have the money.
Well, in a sense, the money should be not that I should tell them how to run the business, but money should be set aside for animal control because that's a fee that we stipulate to them, so it should be paid and then, in my mind,
Thank you.
it should be set, but I don't know how it works in their office.
Other thing would be handled animals. 113 is a lot, isn't it?
It is. We are busy. We have had a lot of animals reclaimed. We have 35 of them reclaimed, and then 36 adopted. So that's 70 animals out of 113 were, you know, returned to their owner or, you know, had gone somewhere, not just staying in the shelter. So that's been helpful that, you know, rescue has come in when we can. We have had 2 injured dogs go to rescue the next day because there's been severe cases where we have to get them out to medical medical needs. And Humane Foundation took one, and then Tails and DeKalb took another one. So it's been helpful that they come down when we need something immediately. They're willing to jump in and assist us on that.
But you did mention at another meeting that you're full. Your facility is full.
Yes, yes. Mostly full. We get the majority of our dogs from the city of Kankakee, and most of them are pit bulls, again, which pit bulls are adoptable, but that's just a lot of people find that they're not desirable sometimes, and the more desirable animals go quicker for adoption.
And there's, I would just say, nothing wrong with them. They just are giving them up.
Yeah, I
as
mean, we
owners.
can't guarantee they're going to be a perfect animal, but if myself and Kelly assess them and we decide that, you know, that dog on our assessment is good for adoption, then we offer it for adoption or for rescue.
Or
So-
to transfer it.
Right.
It would be another way, where you're also showing at least 13 dogs and 17 cats were transferred, which is, that's the good news too, isn't
Right.
it? Because you wouldn't transfer them unless they were going to be maybe
Right.
adopted,
Sure.
probably. Huh? So, okay. Ms. Parker, let me get your number 8.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Carrie, thank you for everything that you do. One of the questions that I do have, and it's a concern, the dogs that are surrendered by owners, the concern is, can they not afford to feed their animal? Is there, I've seen some things on social media that a senior citizen had to turn their dog over because she couldn't afford to feed the dog because of the cost of food anymore. Have you seen any of that yet?
We have. Sometimes we get a lot of donations from Target, and then some people bring in donations, and we don't always feed the food that they give. We give it to some animals because they're still more picky than others. But we do have people calling and ask for food, and if we have it available, we will do it. We had somebody in a high rise that could not afford food, and monthly we would give her food. So that's something like that. We don't want to take your dog from you.
No.
But in the other sense, if your dog comes into animal control and it costs $200 to get it out of impound, and you can't afford that, if your dog gets injured, how are you going to afford that?
Right.
And so that's where we kind of play, you know, a tough game in that situation. But we do have people that we cut breaks for, and we do offer them food. So we did have a situation where a dog came in who the people were homeless, and we did offer them bags of food to go with them. She was in the process of finding a residence. They were able to come up with the money to take the dog out, and then they took the dog back in the situation and are moving out of the area. We did offer them food, stuff like that. We don't want to take the dogs. We don't want to have the dogs in our shelter because it's crowded. We're, you know, not overcrowded, but we're full, and we don't want to have a situation. So if we can offer a solution, then we will.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that. I just hate to see, because animals to a senior citizen are so important for comfort, and to have part of their family taken away or because they have to, that's sad. And if there's anything that we can do, that would be even better for them to keep their animal.
Yeah, it's like a, you know, case by case basis, depending on the situation, why the animal came to us or what the situation is. But I mean, we do offer things like that.
Well, if you ever need, I can volunteer to be a helper.
Thank
to
you.
help with food for that senior citizen, because I know how expensive it is.
Sure.
To care for an animal. Thank you.
One of the things Carrie mentioned again at a different meeting was that she would need some cat food and pate with a little accent over the E. And what I was able to find is at a dollar store, cans for 70 cents of pate. Isn't that a nice price?
yeah.
9 lives even.
Okay.
So I did unfortunately leave the 10 cans at the doorway of my house instead of bringing it here. And then the other thing is paper rolls,
Yeah,
so
paper
the cats
rolls.
can play.
Newspaper, yeah, anything like that.
Oh, newspaper, that's another good thing for your cages and things.
Yep.
So.
Blankets, towels, things like that. Smaller ones. We can't use comforters or any or pillows or, you know, curtains. Any people trying to lump it all in there. We just, you know, we take out what we can use. So.
Anything else? Okay, Mr. Wheeler.
Somewhat important. Was that chunky pate or not chunky? Or-
It is not. We don't like cuts. They're picky. They're homeless animals and they want to be picky. It's like, guys, come on. We're feeding you what you feed you, but they want to be picky on it. But yeah, they do prefer pate. It's easier to hide meds in there too.
Oh,
So that's becomes the hard part.
well, yeah, and then you probably still have your little dog with the liking of the chicken that's heated.
She has been adopted.
Oh.
She went to rescue last month. She got spayed and was adopted and living her best life.
And you told them about the chicken heated, right?
Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. Yeah, they get their notes on all of our history.
So then, let's go to the good news. And you have a paper there. What she has is a paper of a plan of how the nuke facilities, and she's going to check off what's happened in phase 1 or 2.
So it says assess the condition of the existing building proposed for acquisition. So that has been assessed as far as I'm aware of. I know we're in the process of obtaining that building. I don't know how far we are on that. White and Company, I've spoken with them a couple of times, and they have given me a first draft of a floor plan, and we've looked over that, modified a couple of things. I think at the end of the month, they're gonna come up, I think, with a proposed plan for everybody that finance. So that's something to look forward to as well. So their floor plan, we have in total with the pre-existing building and the new floor plan is roughly 9,000 square feet, which is like 4 times as big as our building is now, which, the next step on here is for develop a budget. And I know that we're hitting a budget that we want to hit and maybe beyond that. But my thought was, I don't want to go into a building and already be coming out of it. I want to go into a building with the future in mind, that we're going to have, I want 40 cages. We have 25 roughly now. So, and we're just going to have, more animals. We're needing more staff. We want to have that available. We don't want to go in with 25 cages and then need 30, the next day.
Yeah.
So they will have indoor-outdoor runs. That's proposal right now, indoor-outdoor runs for them. That'll be nice. You just lift up a guillotine door and then they are able to go on out
at
for
the
that.
zoo.
Yep. So it's nice. It's a good plan. I was able to speak with Bark, our fundraising arm, and they approved the motion to put $100,000 towards the animal control project. So that was approved Thursday night.
This last week, Thursday? That's very good news, isn't it?
Yes.
And they were able to see your site and...
They saw the proposed plan. They looked at it, gave some suggestions, and they motioned and approved the motion for $100,000 towards the project, which will help us out tremendously since the BARC funds are there for that. So that will leave them with roughly $25,000 to possibly do a benefit. Since we have something in motion, they can do another benefit to raise more funds for another side project.
That was what I was going to say. They didn't give it all. They held some back for their future.
Yeah, because you have to put money in to raise money. Sure. Some of the things that White and Company had talked about was that we want to have a perimeter fence, a security fence around the building. That's something that at expensive right now we can't do. I'd rather have the cages than the perimeter fence. So it's something that we can raise funds towards in the end at a later date.
Building and additional building, and then have you any comment on your current building? You still will own that. You don't have a future for that yet.
Not yet. No, I don't believe that we're going to do anything with it until we can move into our new building. People have asked me when the timeline is. My estimated timeline that I can think of that we've talked about was next fall.
Next fall, 23.
So at least there's an end in sight. Hopefully, we can get the building and materials, for what our proposed budget is, and won't have to go anything beyond that.
However, Mr. Wheeler, there's still some like Brett Bourbonnais approval. There's still a board meeting there to go through.
Yeah, there's a whole series of things that have to happen between now and then. The first thing is that the plan will be brought before this committee in a special meeting before the finance committee meeting. That was sent out to all the committee members. Should have seen that. It's only a 15-minute, roughly, presentation, 8:45 or 9 o'clock. I can't remember exactly the time. Then this committee will vote on it, send it to finance. Then finance will approve the not-to-exceed number for the addition, as well as the building purchase, because those contracts are being finalized, the land purchase next door. which you've given the approval to, to meet and negotiate, and we got all that together. So really, once that's afoot, if you will, once that's all released, the newspaper ads start going out. We've got $1.5 million in bond capacity that's available to us. We are going to shop that locally first to our locally owned banks, and then we'll go to the market after that to do a comparison. So the Bourbonnais Planning Commission would be meeting, I want to say the date was 8/15. Once it's approved by the Bourbonnais Planning Commission and their full Board of Trustees, then all contracts would be triggered as being final, and everything's in motion. We set closing dates, and hopefully we can get some dirt moved this fall.
Right.
I would love to see like a sprinkler system main put in this year. Something out there to show that we're really doing it. But we'll see.
It's just so much farther along than ever in the, ever. So this is just such good news, and what benefit we've gotten from this, the funds and having the funds available. And
I was talking to somebody the other day, and listen up things that we've had since the sheriff has taken over animal control. We've gotten bulletproof vests, we've gotten tasers, we've gotten 3 new vehicles, proposed, a new building. So it's been nice and helpful that, we've fallen under the umbrella and we're getting things in motion further than they were before. So it's been nice to have, those few things. They may seem few to a smaller apartment, to a bigger apartment, but for us, it's everything. And new vehicles, bulletproof vests, tasers, things like that, to make them feel more, secure, and know that we're caring for our employees and getting them a new building. Hopefully, makes them realize that we're moving in the right direction.
And you could just spot again on the 2 vehicles that it's trucks, isn't it?
So we have a van. The van now is in our fleet. You can notice our mileage on there, so that's a start. And then the trucks are getting worked on. They hopefully will be in the fleet hopefully by July.
Really? Yeah. So you're talking about the 1,160.
That's our new van.
That's
Yeah.
the
So
new
then
van?
the Ford truck is no longer in fleet, and so we are going to move that out. We moved one of the Silverado that has 83,000 miles on it. That will be our new utility truck, and then one with 100,000 miles on it. We'll be selling that, and along with the van. So we will have 4 vehicles again, with 3 of them being new.
And all will need the equipment in the back.
So we've been able to have the box in the back of the trucks modified to fit the new truck.
Oh.
So they had storage capacity in the back of the, towards the front of the box, and then that has been taken out because it's a quad cab truck. So then they are moving the storage to the back of the seats of the trucks. So
That's great, isn't it? Yeah, so you have the vehicles and the building coming along, and your staff, you're all staffed okay?
until August, then we will be looking for another staff member, because the girl who's taken over every other Saturday, every Sunday, and Mondays and holidays will be going back to college in
Oh,
August.
sure.
So she's been helpful for us since the beginning of summer, but be leaving us for then.
So last question I have until somebody else is under fines. It's $2,950 gathered in fines. What is a normal? What did people get fined for?
So not having your animal current vaccinated, it's $100 for that service fee.
So that adds up then. So once they're kind of
Running at large, things like that.
they're captured or whatever it is, whatever there is, like, the things, there's so many things that could be wrong when you're captured.
So yeah, say it's, and your animal is not microchipped, not current, not spayed or neutered, it's $215. That includes the impound fee, the microchip, the running at large, and then the fee and fine to get them vaccinated. But they pay us for the fee and fine to get them vaccinated. We send them to an animal hospital, and then we send them a tag that's already included there. They don't have to pay anything else at the animal hospital. They bring their dog to get vaccinated, or cat, and then we send them a tag.
So complete service area. Anything else? A very, very complete, good report today. Thank you for that. Ms. Parker, what would you like to add from your meeting?
First of all, thank you so much, Carrie. And like you, I feel the same way about the umbrella of being under the Sheriff's Department and the progress that has been made the last few years. It's just been fantastic. And with the future of a new building, we're all over the moon about that, not only for the staff, but for the animals. It's going to be a fantastic move for you. We met last Wednesday afternoon, had a very good discussion, And I want to thank Carrie for giving us the information. What we like is that Carrie answers our questions and very complete. Everyone leaves very satisfied. A lot of good you left early, and a lot of good compliments that from our committee about what you offer to us. Just really good communication. The other thing that I have is that we're going to be meeting again next month to continue some of the projects that we have coming up. Also, just a reminder to everyone that one of the ordinances that we have recommended and was approved was extreme temperatures, and remind pet owners that extreme temperatures is not only below zero, but for the heat that we recommend that they have adequate shade and adequate cool water. It's really hot out there, and if those dogs are walking on concrete, that is burning their little paws, and so to be careful about taking walks on sidewalks as well. So just something I have to do, talk about, because I see so many people walking their dogs, and it's just hurting me. I just want to go out there and say, please walk them on my grass if you need to get them off that road. Yeah, safety of the animals, but we're really pleased with everything that's going forward in both animal control, and hopefully our committee can be of service to you. So thank you so much for that. And also, don't forget, donations for pate to the animal control for those kittens would be really appreciated.
Okay, good report. Anything else to add? Looking under our next agenda item under a new or old business, Mr. Wheeler, what would you add for us? What anything else we'd like to know about?
Really just that the groundwork, pre-work, everything is set up for the needs assessment. There's a core group of community stakeholders that have been taking the survey and helping craft the broader survey that will go out to the public starting on July 12th. Mayor of Kankakee is going to come in for the full board meeting and launch that with us here, because it's a joint project between the county and the city. Really just a lot of great input so far. People seem excited on a countywide basis, just from all over the place. So it'll be targeted in the city of Kankakee to a degree because of the obvious financial commitment we have towards public safety within the city, which is a major portion of our spend as a county. And I've mentioned that over and over, that every taxpayer in the county, property taxpayer, pays for what happens or doesn't happen in the city of Kankakee, so it's in their best interest to try to address that with us. Because you still have to pay for the judges, the jury, the prosecutors, probation, the jail, everything else. So it really does matter if we can move the needle there. So, but that doesn't mean we're not looking at Bradley and Bourbonnais and Herscher and Mantino and everybody, Moments and everything in between, from Essex to Grant Park. So once it's out there, there's a QR code, there's posters going up everywhere. We've got basically the communications plan ready to go. People scan it with their phone. It's in English and in Spanish. So it's just the beginning, but it'll move pretty quickly. It'll be open for 2 weeks. We're gonna have a wrap up out at KCC with all of the, I want to say the core team, and then we should have a pretty good target list on the way we want to design our granting opportunities towards maybe the top 5 things that'll help us move the needle. Whether we see it as recidivism, anti-violence, housing, mental health, whatever we see as the community feels that the prioritized and ranked issues are, and those interconnections. That's what we've said that we want to fund, is making sure that those things are connected. So it's a lot has happened since we brought Eddie on board, and then doing this needs assessment with Respark in the city is a big part of this.
Yep. I thank you for that report. And what he's talked about is this is part of the Spark plan, and we have gotten, as you said, moved right along. So we're almost right here, which is that interview, which is the survey. And if any of you had a chance to give your opinions, they're still available. But the survey is questions are asked about what about your small community, what are the needs, but what are the county's community, what is the county doing well, what could the county do better, and those are the kind of survey questions they'll end up being too, I think. So the hot items you were just barely mentioned probably could be some of the they could be. There's a lot. So the thing that the sheriff mentioned to me is they're all so interrelated to each other, you know, whether it's family starts as an umbrella. There's so many things connected to that. So I think this committee has the great advantage of not only working with the white, you know, the building part of it, but also the community needs assessment. So we have some great things going on with this committee. Good that you're here. Anything else to add, please?
You made me realize I misspoke. It's Building and Grounds that's at the special meeting, but
Yeah.
a lot of people in this room are on that committee,
Yeah.
so I apologize for
Yeah.
that. But please come. Everybody can come to the
Yeah.
meeting. If it's of interest. But I just realized that this isn't Building and Grounds.
No,
It's
I
a lot of
know.
the same people, but yeah.
I said I would be there because I'm on Building and Grounds. I thought, wait a second,
Thanks, Steve.
it's connected a lot, you know. We can come for sure. We can join in online too. So okay, thank you for that. Anything else? We've had a great meeting. Mr. Smith.
Just like to make a motion to adjourn.
Before we're adjourned.
Okay, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, thank you. I'd just like to, it's an announcement pretty much that's more related to safety and prevention. It's a kind of community service kind of type of thing. I just wanted to let everybody, other community know, and maybe people that are listening, that myself and some of the my associate individuals, we are available and authorized by the Coast Guard to do vessel safety checks in this county. So this is a boating season, and I think it's kind of important for the safety of boaters and people using or boating on the river here that it's free of charge. And during the time of inspection, if the boat passes the inspection, it receives a decal that is placed on the side of the boat, which then signifies that at that time the boat was in compliance with federal and state boating laws. So a lot of times when you're boating and you have like maybe the law enforcement or DNR comes by and see the decal, already know that you've been looked at it. So if the boat doesn't pass, then there's no citation or no report is made on that specific boat. So it's free of charge, and if anybody interested can contact me. My cell phone number is out there on the community, or you can go into the Coast Guard website and look for boating safety checks and then apply for one.
So you will tell the person what's wrong, but you won't have a citation.
It's an educational thing. It's a safety primarily, the intention. So if the boat doesn't pass or is missing something, generally we'll educate the boater what they need to do. We look for registration. We look for fire extinguisher. We look for the life vest, things like that. A few other items.
Thank you. I appreciate your announcement then. And that leads to, we're going to get the river dredge so that boats can get in, right?
And out.
Good.
Yes.
Anything else? Mr. Snipes?
Thus, and you had no further deliberation, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Oh, Mr. Smith did that, but you can second it.
I would like to second that.
Oh, okay, well, why don't you second it? Would anyone else like to second it too? How about thirds? We had all in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Anybody not want to say no? Okay, thank you for being